I'm Stephanie. I'm 25 years old. And the night I begged my own sister to call 911 because my chest felt like it was collapsing, she looked at me and yelled, "Stop overreacting." If only she knew what the doctor would say afterward. If only she knew how close she came to losing me forever. If only she cared enough to even try. Before I go on, please like this video, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Let me take you back to how this nightmare began. My sister Tessa and I shared an apartment in the city. We'd been living together for about 8 months. On paper, it seemed like a good arrangement. Split rent, shared responsibilities, built-in companionship. But the reality? The reality was that Tessa had always seen me as weak, as too sensitive, as someone who made mountains out of molehills. Every time I expressed concern about anything, my health, my emotions, my struggles, she'd roll her eyes and tell me I was being dramatic. Every single time. That afternoon started like any other. I'd been working from home, staring at my laptop screen for hours, feeling the weight of deadlines crushing down on me. I hadn't been sleeping well, maybe 3-4 hours a night for the past week. My boss was demanding, my projects were piling up, and I felt like I was drowning. But I pushed through because that's what you do, right? You push through the exhaustion. You push through the stress. You don't complain because people like Tessa will just tell you you're overreacting. Around 3 in the afternoon, I noticed something odd. A tightness in my chest. Not painful exactly, but present. Like someone had wrapped a band around my ribcage and was slowly, steadily pulling it tighter. I took a deep breath, trying to expand my lungs, trying to shake off the sensation. It didn't help. The tightness remained. I told myself it was stress. Just stress. Maybe I'd been sitting in a bad position. Maybe I needed to stretch. Maybe I needed water. So I got up, stretched my arms, rolled my shoulders, drank some water. The tightness eased a little. Enough that I convinced myself I'd imagined how bad it was. I went back to work. Kept typing. Kept pushing through. But the fatigue was overwhelming. Not the normal kind of tired you feel after a long day. This was different. This was a heaviness that settled into my bones, making every movement feel like I was wading through mud. My arms felt weak. My fingers fumbled on the keyboard. I thought about taking a nap, but I had too much to do. Too many emails to answer. Too many tasks to complete. So I kept going. Kept pushing. Because that's what I've been taught to do. Don't give in. Don't be weak. Don't overreact. Around 6:30 that evening, I decided to make dinner. Nothing fancy. Just pasta and sauce. Simple. Easy. I walked into the kitchen, feeling that same strange fatigue weighing me down. Tessa was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, barely acknowledging my existence. That was normal too. We developed this pattern of polite distance, occupying the same space, but living separate lives. I filled a pot with water and set it on the stove. Turned on the burner. Started chopping vegetables for the sauce. And that's when everything changed. That's when my entire world tilted on its axis, and I realized something was very, very wrong. A sharp pain shot through my chest like lightning. Not the dull tightness from earlier. This was acute. Piercing. It radiated from the center of my chest outward, spreading through my shoulders, down my left arm. I gasped, dropping the knife I'd been holding. It clattered against the cutting board. The sound seemed distant, muffled, like I was hearing it from underwater. My vision started to blur at the edges. Sweat broke out across my forehead, cold and clammy. My hands began to tremble violently. I grabbed the edge of the counter, trying to steady myself, trying to stay upright. But my legs felt like they were made of water. The room started spinning. I couldn't catch my breath. Every inhale was shallow, insufficient, leaving me gasping for more air that wouldn't come. The pain in my chest intensified, a crushing pressure that made me feel like an elephant was sitting on my ribcage. "Tessa," I called out. My voice came out weak, shaky, desperate. "Tessa, something's wrong." She didn't even look up from her phone. "What now, Stephanie?" I can't breathe. My chest, it hurts so bad. I could hear the panic in my own voice, the terror bleeding through every word. That's when she finally glanced over. And you know what I saw on her face? Not concern, not worry, irritation. Pure, undiluted irritation. Like I was an inconvenience. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum for attention. Stephanie, you always think something's wrong with you. Last month, it was a headache that you convinced yourself was a brain tumor. The month before that, you thought you had a blood clot. You're fine. No, I gasped, clutching my chest. The pain was getting worse, radiating, consuming. No, this is different. Please, please, Tessa. I need you to call 911. She actually laughed. A short, bitter sound that cut through me worse than the pain. Call 911? For what? So you can embarrass us both when the paramedics get here and find out you're just having another panic attack? I'm not doing it, Stephanie. I'm not feeding into this anymore. I staggered toward her, one hand still pressed against my chest, the other reaching out like I was drowning and she was my only lifeline. Please, I begged. Tears were streaming down my face now. Please, I'm begging you. Something is really wrong. I can feel it. I need help. She looked me dead in the eyes and said the words that will haunt me for the rest of my life. Stop overreacting. Then, she turned up the volume on the TV. Deliberately. Like she was drowning me out. Like my desperate pleas for help were nothing more than background noise she could simply tune out. My vision was darkening at the edges. The room was spinning faster. My legs were giving out beneath me. I realized in that moment, with absolute clarity, that my own sister was going to let me die. She wasn't going to help me. She was going to sit on that couch, watching her show, while I collapsed on the floor behind her. Guys, if you're still here, please subscribe. Telling this is painful. Reliving the moment, I realized my own flesh and blood valued her TV show more than my life. If you won't subscribe, at least tell me why in the comments. I need to understand if I'm the only one who thinks this is as monstrous as it feels. I fell to my knees. The impact sent a jolt of pain through my body, but it was nothing compared to the agony in my chest. I could barely see now. Everything was gray and fuzzy. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely control them. But I had to. I had to. Because if I didn't save myself, no one else would. I crawled toward my purse, which I'd left by the door. Every movement was torture. Every breath was a battle. Behind me, I could hear the TV. Some comedy show. Laugh tracks echoing through the apartment while I was literally dying on the floor. Tessa didn't turn around. Didn't check on me. She just sat there. My fingers finally closed around my phone. I pulled it out with shaking hands, nearly dropping it twice. My vision was so blurred, I could barely see the screen. I had to try 3 times to unlock it because my fingerprint reader couldn't recognize my trembling finger. Finally, it opened. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? Chest pain. I gasped out. Can't breathe. Need help. Okay, ma'am, stay calm. What's your address? I gave it to her. Each word a struggle. The dispatcher kept me on the line, asking questions, telling me help was on the way. Her voice was the only kindness I'd heard in those terrifying minutes. The only person who believed me, who took me seriously, who acted like my life mattered. From the couch, I heard Tessa mutter something about drama, about how I was making a scene. Even then, even as I lay on the floor, gasping for air, speaking to an emergency dispatcher, she thought I was performing. She thought I was seeking attention. The paramedics arrived in what felt like hours, but was probably only 7 or 8 minutes. They pounded on the door. Tessa finally got up, not to help me, but to answer the door, probably intending to send them away. But when she opened it, the EMTs pushed past her immediately. Where is she? One of them demanded. Tessa pointed at me, sprawled on the floor, phone still clutched in my hand. They were on me in seconds. Professional. Efficient. Taking my vitals, asking me questions, their faces grave and focused. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, held my hand and told me I did the right thing by calling. that I was going to be okay, that they were going to take care of me. What are her symptoms? One EMT asked Tessa. I don't know. She said her chest hurt. Tessa stammered. For the first time, I saw something that might have been fear cross her face. Because suddenly, with these professionals here, treating me with urgency and concern, she couldn't pretend this was nothing. She couldn't dismiss it as overreaction. How long has she been symptomatic? I don't know. She said something like half an hour ago, but I thought. You thought what? The EMT's voice was sharp. Accusatory. I thought she was exaggerating. The look the paramedic gave her could have frozen fire. But they didn't waste time on judgment. They had me on a stretcher within minutes, strapping me in, hooking me up to portable monitors. I could hear the beeping of machines, the crackle of their radios as they communicated with the hospital. 25-year-old female, presenting with severe chest pain, diaphoresis, shortness of breath. Vitals are unstable. We're bringing her in hot. They rushed me out of the apartment. The last thing I saw was Tessa standing in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide. Finally understanding. Finally realizing. But it was too late for her realization to matter. If this story hits you even a little, please hit subscribe. Don't make me beg like I begged my own sister that night. Don't make me feel invisible and unheard the way she made me feel. The hospital was a blur of fluorescent lights and urgent voices. They wheeled me into the emergency room, transferred me to a bed, surrounded me with doctors and nurses. Everyone was moving fast. So fast. I heard medical jargon I didn't understand. Saw them hooking me up to more machines, inserting in giving me medications. The pain was still there, crushing and relentless, but I felt a strange sense of relief. Because these people believed me. These people were taking me seriously. These people were fighting to save my life. They ran tests. So many tests. EKG, blood work, chest x-rays. A doctor, Dr. Martinez, I later learned, stayed by my side, explaining what they were doing, reassuring me. The kindness of strangers saving me while my own sister had left me to die. Tessa showed up about an hour later. I guess she'd driven herself to the hospital. She looked scared, shaken. But I couldn't find it in myself to care about her feelings. Not then. Not when I was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, wondering if I was going to die at 25 years old. She tried to approach my bed, but a nurse stopped her. Are you family? I'm her sister. She'll need to approve visitors. Please wait outside. I didn't approve her. Not right away. Let her sit in that waiting room, scared and uncertain. Let her feel a fraction of what I'd felt on that kitchen floor. After what felt like an eternity, Dr. Martinez came back into my room. His expression was serious. Grave. The kind of look that makes your stomach drop even before words are spoken. Stephanie, I need to talk to you about what we found. I nodded, afraid to speak. Afraid of what he was going to say. You experienced a cardiac event. A serious one. Your tests show significant irregularities in your heart rhythm, and your cardiac enzymes are elevated. You weren't having a panic attack. You weren't overreacting. Your heart was in distress, and if you had waited even 10 more minutes before getting help. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. 10 more minutes, Stephanie, and we might not be having this conversation right now. You could have died. The room seemed to tilt. Died. I could have died. On my apartment floor. While my sister watched TV. I understand there was some delay in getting you help. Dr. Martinez continued. The paramedics mentioned that someone was with you when symptoms started? My sister. I whispered. She was there. I begged her to call 911. She told me I was overreacting. The doctor's jaw tightened. That delay could have been fatal. You're very lucky you were able to call for help yourself. Very lucky. He paused, then asked, Is she here? Your sister? In the waiting room. Would you like me to speak with her? To explain the severity of what happened. I nodded. Part of me wanted her to hear it from him. From a medical professional. So she couldn't dismiss it. Couldn't minimize it. Couldn't tell me I was being dramatic. Dr. Martinez left and returned a few minutes later with Tessa. She looked small. Diminished. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. When she saw me lying there, hooked up to monitors and IVs, she let out a small sob. Stephanie, Dr. Martinez cut her off. Are you the sister who was present when the symptoms began? Tessa nodded, unable to speak. Then you need to understand something. Your sister experienced a life-threatening cardiac event. When she told you she needed help, she was right. When she asked you to call 911, she wasn't exaggerating. She was trying to save her own life. The delay in getting her treatment could have killed her. Do you understand what I'm saying? She could have died while you dismissed her concerns. Tessa's face crumpled. I didn't know. I thought she always worries about her health, and I thought this was just another. It doesn't matter what you thought, Dr. Martinez said, his voice hard. When someone tells you they're experiencing chest pain and difficulty breathing, you call for help. You don't get to decide whether their emergency is real. You don't get to judge whether their pain is valid. You call for help. Every time. The silence in that room was deafening. Tessa stood there, tears streaming down her face, trying to form words that wouldn't come. What could she say? What excuse could possibly justify what she'd done? I'm sorry, she finally whispered. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. I never thought. But her apology felt hollow. Empty. Because sorry doesn't undo those minutes on the floor. Sorry doesn't erase the betrayal. Sorry doesn't change the fact that when I needed her most, when my life hung in the balance, she chose to believe I was lying rather than help me. If you're still watching, please subscribe. Or tell me in the comments why you don't want to. I'm listening. I need to know if I'm wrong to feel this broken, this betrayed, this angry. The doctor left us alone. Tessa pulled a chair up to my bed, but I turned my face away. I couldn't look at her. Couldn't bear to see her guilt-stricken expression because her guilt didn't change anything. Stephanie, please.
Please talk to me.
I know I messed up. I know I should have listened to you. But you have to understand, you've been so anxious lately, always worried about every little symptom, and I just thought. You thought wrong. I said, my voice flat, emotionless. You thought I was being dramatic while I was literally dying. You thought my pain wasn't real. You thought I was lying to you. And even if I had been overreacting, even if it had been anxiety, would that have made it okay? Would my fear and pain have been less valid? She had no answer for that. I begged you, Tessa. I begged you to help me. And you turned up the TV. I know. God. Stephanie, I know. And I will regret that for the rest of my life. But please, you have to forgive me. I'm your sister. We're family. Family. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Because what kind of family does this? What kind of sister watches you collapse and decides you're being theatrical? What kind of love is so conditional, so judgmental, that it won't even make a phone call that could save your life? I need you to leave, I said quietly. What? No, Stephanie, please.
Leave.
I can't.
I can't look at you right now.
I can't be near you. Just go. She left, sobbing. And I was alone with the beeping of monitors and the weight of what had almost happened. What could have happened if I hadn't found the strength to save myself? I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. They ran more tests, adjusted medications, monitored my heart. The cardiac event had been caused by a previously undiagnosed condition, one that we never would have known about if not for that night. Ironically, if it had happened any other way, if I'd been alone or with someone who cared, I might have gotten help sooner. But I also might never have known about the underlying issue that could have killed me later. Tessa tried to visit multiple times. I refused to see her for the first 2 days. On the 3rd day, I finally agreed to let her come in. Not because I'd forgiven her, but because I needed to say what I had to say. She looked terrible, eyes swollen from crying, face drawn with stress and guilt. She brought flowers, daisies, my favorite, like that could somehow make things better. Stephanie, Let me talk first, I interrupted. I've had 3 days to think about this. About us. About what happened. And I've realized something. This wasn't just about that one night. This was about a pattern. A pattern of you dismissing my feelings, minimizing my concerns, treating me like I'm weak or dramatic or attention-seeking. Every time I've been scared or hurt or worried, you've made me feel like I'm the problem. Like I'm too sensitive. Like I'm overreacting. I never meant to make you feel. It doesn't matter what you meant. That's what you did. And that night, that pattern almost killed me. Because I'd internalized your voice so much that even when my body was screaming that something was wrong, I second-guessed myself. I told myself I was probably overreacting. I dismissed my own symptoms because I was so afraid of being the dramatic little sister you always accused me of being. Tears were flowing freely down her face now. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I'll do better. I promise I'll do better. I'll listen to you. I'll take you seriously. Just please don't shut me out. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something inside me shift. Not forgiveness.
Not yet.
Maybe not ever. But a kind of sad acceptance. An understanding that the relationship we'd had was gone, shattered like glass on that kitchen floor. I can't live with you anymore, I said. I can't be around someone who made me feel like my pain doesn't matter. Like my life doesn't matter. Stephanie, no. I'm not saying we can't have a relationship eventually. I'm not saying I hate you or never want to see you again. But I need space. I need distance. I need to be somewhere where I feel safe. And right now, I don't feel safe with you. She nodded, broken, defeated. Okay, I understand. I'll start looking for a new roommate. Or I can move out if you want to keep the apartment. I'll move, I said. I need a fresh start anyway. She left shortly after that. And I sat alone in my hospital room, feeling hollow and exhausted, but also strangely relieved. Like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying for too long. The doctors cleared me to go home the next day with a strict medication regimen and follow-up appointments. My friend Rachel picked me up, the friend I should have called that night instead of relying on Tessa. Rachel held my hand the whole drive, told me I could stay with her as long as I needed, promised me I'd never be alone or dismissed again. Over the next few weeks, I packed up my things and moved into Rachel's spare room. Tessa and I texted occasionally. Brief, polite messages. How are you feeling? Did you get to your cardiology appointment? Surface-level concern that didn't touch the deep wound between us. Months passed. My heart condition stabilized with medication and lifestyle changes. I started therapy to process the trauma of that night, not just the medical emergency, but the emotional betrayal. The crushing realization that the person who should have protected me had instead left me to die. My therapist asked me once if I thought I'd ever forgive Tessa. I didn't have an answer. Because how do you forgive someone for not believing your pain was real? How do you rebuild trust with someone who valued their TV show over your life? But I'll tell you what I did learn. I learned to trust myself, to trust my body, to never again dismiss my own symptoms or feelings because someone else might think I'm overreacting. I learned that pain is real even when others don't believe it. That your life has value even when others treat it as disposable. That you are your own best advocate, and sometimes you have to save yourself. I learned that the word family doesn't automatically mean safety or love or protection. That sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones who hurt you most. And that it's okay to distance yourself from people who make you feel small or invalid or unworthy of care, even if they're related to you. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for witnessing my pain and my anger and my betrayal. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment where you're watching from. Let me know if you've ever experienced something similar. Let me know if you've ever been dismissed or minimized or told you were overreacting when you knew something was wrong. And remember this, pain is real even when others don't believe you. Your feelings are valid even when others dismiss them. Your life matters even when others treat it like it doesn't. Trust yourself. Advocate for yourself. Save yourself when no one else will. Because sometimes the people who should help you won't. Sometimes you're all you've got. And sometimes that has to be enough.